All right, we discussed my sharpening methods and my stropping methods using my system. Okay, you got to make your own, guys. It's part of your skills training. All right. Don't want anybody out there buying a pre-made setup or anything like that, and I don't want anybody making pre-made setups. You gotta learn to do this stuff yourself. Don't be trying to make a buck off of my method. I want people to get out there and do this stuff themselves. Alright? So I left off with knives, right? So you say, well, what about axes and hatchets? Okay, because we have axes and hatchets, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this works, right? This works for both of those too. So here is my plum that some of you saw in a video yesterday or the day before, right? Now this is my very favorite pack axe. So I've used it for firewood here during the winter, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna barely just touch up the edge a little bit here. Alright, so got a little bit of crap on there from, you know, exposure, right? So now that looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and bring it back the other way. Take that doggone puck and throw it somewhere in a corner and use this. Alright? Stones, all you're doing is you're just grinding away too much steel all the time. And these axe manufacturers want you to use a stone all the time or a file. Alright? This is a Helco work file. Now something like this you're going to use because a lot of axes come to where they do not have a perfect edge, or they don't have a perfect style of edge because they do it to a certain point, and then you as an axe man are supposed to go ahead and put the type of edge that you want on your axe. Okay, in this case I have a shallow convex edge on this pack axe. So I formed the axe, the edge on my Tasmania. So I have a Helco work Tasmania axe, which is much bigger and heavier head. Okay, so I formed that, got that convex the way I want, and then I took it to the belts to finish, right? You use this. From now on, I'm not going to use that file anymore. Only when you have serious damage or you're actually forming up the initial edge of your bit, okay, to make it, shaping it the way that you want it. Alright, that's when you use that file or you use stone. After that, you can use this belt system to maintain. Right? So, I'm going to go ahead and get this leather. Alright? We discussed this dowel here earlier, keeps that belt from pinching. Okay? So, this has the rough side out. Right? Rough side out. It's already got some Herb's Yellowstone compound in there. So the rest of my axe head is covered with linseed oil. So I use linseed oil on the rest of my axe head, and it keeps it from rusting, right? So generally you get a tiny bit of surface rust out here on the working edge of the bit, you know, especially in the winter time. Try to keep it dry as much as you can, but it's not perfect, you know. I mean, but when you maintain it, it'll just knock off that surface rust anyway, right? So you can see it's nice and shiny again on that edge. And, you know, your axe is going to be about 55, 56 on the Rockwell, okay? Now these old plums, they had, checking my time, they were hardened all the way back 2 inches, right? All these new ones from Helco, or not Helco, what is that? Holtefers, Holzbruck, right? Those are only like 5 millimeters. I don't know. It's really, really shallow. There's almost no hardening, only at the edge. But your Helco work is like this one. This old plum is about 2 inches. Helco work's about 2 inches also. I know because I did an investigation of it. Because I wanted to find out what the deal was. You know, I want longevity. I want my axe to be able to pass down to 2, 3, 4 generations. Okay. So, the Helco has that hardening, so there's plenty of time to whittle that down to where you'll never be able to use it anymore at some point. But it'll take decades and decades and decades. This is nearly 110 years old, this old New England style plum head, okay? And then I rehafted it a couple years ago, and then it's linseeded. It took me a year to get this thing soaking good with linseed. The whole thing has been linseeded. It took me a year to get it this good. We got a nice hard wedge in there, and I don't use any of that steel stuff in there. Soak it in linseed. And when you use it, you know, put linseed oil on it after you use it. Every time. As much as you can. Okay? And that'll keep it nice and tight, and it won't come loose on you. Okay? And I always have a couple millimeters of wood out the top. So then, you know, it can expand and be nice and tight. So you'll see just a tiny bit of wood roll here. If you don't like that, you could take a razor blade and strip that off. But that means there's no gap. It's nice and tight. Okay? If you start fretting about this little bit of wood roll around there, then it's a possibility that you will have a gap between your axe handle and the interior of the axe head. Okay, and you don't want that. So if you don't like that, you can take an X-Acto knife or a razor blade and just trim that off. Right? I left that there on purpose so that I could show you that later. Okay? So that's how you use my sharpening method for other items other than your knives. Okay? That's how you do it. Same way. You know, Come out of the Stone Age. That's it. Come out of the Stone Age, fellas. Catch you later.